Shoulders. Stay tight. Ready, go.
James Barn, gracias. Thank you. Wow. Wow.
How long have you been doing arm wrestling for now?
I'm in about 2 years now. July will be 2 years. It absolutely has to be something that you are 100% committed to if you want to be at the top tier levels, just like anything else in this world.
So Steve, what got you into arm wrestling in the first place?
Man, my family. My uncle and my dad were really big into arm wrestling as I was growing up, and I was always a bar arm wrestler, thinking that I was good at what I was doing. And my dad unfortunately passed in 2018. 2019, my uncle found a tournament up in the North Valley and told me I had to compete in it in remembrance of my dad. So I did, and I ended up placing with both arms. And at that time, I had these circuits calling me asking if I wanted to join arm wrestling. And I'm a realtor. I was like, I don't have time for arm wrestling. I didn't take it very seriously. So it wasn't until 2022, July, that I went to this guy named Scott Westhouse. You know Scott West. And got there, grabbed onto his hand. He said go, and I got completely stonewalled. Couldn't move the dude. And I don't know, you know me. I'm not the type to just put my feet in the water. I jump all the way in the pool. So from that day on, man, it was just, let's go. Let's learn.
What sort of goals do you have in the sport?
Well, those goals have transitioned over time. I try to set obtainable goals for myself, if you will. And now that I've won a couple of golds in a couple of different tournaments, it's just seeing where year 2 to year 5 can get me. I feel like that 3-year turn, I've heard a lot of people in the sport say that timeline is where you either get in full board or you get out and you're done. I fully plan on traveling a lot more nationally, hopefully internationally, if God willing, and just competing at the highest level possible with the best athletes in the country and in the world.
So you mentioned you're a realtor, you have children, I know. How do you find time to train and go to all these events? How can someone who is also busy like this find the time?
So every month, and I just recently started doing this because I noticed it actually started with my kids. It started with me taking too much time doing work and my extracurriculars and everything else and not having enough time for my kids. I felt like, I was taken away from my kids. So now I call them my non-negotiables. My non-negotiables. Every month, at the first of the month, I look at my calendar and I say, okay, wife, daughter, son, what are your calendars like? I plug them in. We figure out activities that we're going to do for the family. Afterwards, I add in my work, my time with my mother, and then everything else is open. So what's next on the list? It's arm wrestling. It absolutely has to be something that you are 100% committed to if you want to be at the top tier levels, just like anything else in this world. If you want it bad enough, you got to work, you got to commit. And committing takes time.
How long have you been doing arm wrestling for now?
I'm in about 2 years now. July will be 2 years.
So 2 years in. So let's say someone's just barely starting now. What advice would you give them?
I would say make a decision very, very early on how serious you want to take this. If you decide that you want to take it very seriously and you don't just want to be a backyard arm wrestler, get with the right people. I feel like all the right people are going to tell you who they are in this sport in Arizona. You're going to hear it from multiple people at practices. And just put yourself around those people as much as possible if you want to obtain excellence in this sport.
What advice would you give the Steve West Jr. of 2 years ago?
Stay humble. Stay humble, stay in the passenger seat, get out of the driver's seat. Stop thinking that you know everything about this sport just because you have lifted for years. You know nothing about this sport whatsoever. And it's your job and it is your duty as a new arm wrestler, this is speaking about everyone, to listen to the people that have paved the path for you. That's how you're going to achieve excellence in the sport. Okay, for me, because I am a realtor and I travel across the entire state all the time, every week in, week out, I have the ability to show up to people's homes like Edo, like Scott West, like the top tier arm wrestlers that we have in the state, and be able to go train with those individuals. If you don't have the ability to travel, then I would highly recommend that you get in contact with one of the higher end arm wrestlers in the state. Let them put together a coaching program for you that you can follow inside and outside of the gym. That would be my number one.
What do you think the biggest mistakes new arm wrestlers make in the sport?
I think they get in their heads too quickly, thinking that they understand the sport. This is not like going into the gym and working out. You know, when you go in the gym and work out, the first 2 weeks you're super sore, and then after that you're just fatigued. That's because you're working out muscles. You're not necessarily trying to rip and grow tendons like you do in this sport. So it could take 2 years before you notice that your arms are starting to heal faster, your fatigue is starting to go away a little bit faster. Just stay patient. Okay, that's what I would highly recommend, and follow instruction from the guys that are already doing it at a high level. You just got to follow it. Just sit in the passenger seat, stay out of your own head, follow the guys that are doing it at a high level.